Hi everybody, welcome to our 5.6 lecture video on fractions and decimals. So with this section, what you're going to be doing is converting from fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions and comparing them. Okay? So to write a fraction as a decimal, it's really not bad at all. You're just going to do division. Okay? You just divide numerator divided by denominator. Okay? And that's it. To write a decimal as a fraction, we did this in a different section, but all you do is you write the number before the decimal. The whole part will be the whole part of your mixed number. So write the number before the decimal as the whole part of your mixed number. Then the part after the decimal is what becomes a fraction. And what you do is the number after the decimal places the numerator of your fraction. And then the denominator is some sort of a power of 10 that goes with the biggest or the most decimal places you have, that place value. Okay? So the number after the decimal place is going to be the numerator of your fraction. Alright, then the denominator will be a power of 10, so it'll be like 10 or 100 or 1,000, something like that, that goes with the place value. So it goes with your decimal place value, okay? So let's try a few of these, and I think with some examples you guys are going to get really good at them. So first example is just going from fractions to decimals. And all you're going to do to go from 3/5 as a fraction to a decimal is you're just going to do 3 divided by 5. Numerator divided by denominator. And if you do 3 divided by 5, you're going to get 0.6, and that's it. We have -3/20. It'll be a negative answer, and in your calculator, you're going to do 3 divided by 20, which will give you 0.15. It is negative. It started out negative, so it's still a negative number. In part C, we'll do 10 divided by 3, and this is going to give you 3.333333333, and it just keeps on going. Whether your calculator will probably run out of digits, but it's going to keep going. So that means we have a repeating decimal. So I'll have a 3.3, and that 3 repeats. So you put a bar over it to indicate that it repeats. If you have a mixed number like this one, the -2 7/8, -2 is your whole part, and then the fractional part becomes your decimal. So you'll do 7 divided by 8 in your calculator, which is going to give you 0.875. That's the part that goes after the decimal place. The -2 becomes your whole part. Alright, next up, writing decimals as fractions. The first one I have is 0.7. So the number after the decimal place is a 7. I don't have anything before the decimal place. So 7 is my numerator. It's in the 10ths place, so my denominator is a 10. And that's it. Okay? The next one in part B is 1.85, so 1 is the whole part. The 0.85 becomes a fraction, so I'm going to put the entire number, the 85, as my numerator. It has 2 decimal places, so that's the 10ths place, and this is the 100ths place, so we're going to put it over 100. And with this one, I can simplify the fraction, and it does say to write it as a simplified fraction. So we'll simplify the fraction. Both are divisible by 5. So that doesn't simplify the whole part. It'll always be 1. 85 divided by 5 is 17. 100 divided by 5 is 20. So this simplifies to be 1 and 17/20. All right? You guys ready to try one? Good. Part C, you've got 0.325. See if you can go from a decimal number to a fraction. So pause your video, see if you can try this one, and I will show you the answer here in 3, 2, 1. You should be doing 325 over 1,000 as a starting point, because you've got 3 decimal places, which would be the 1,000th place. Then this simplifies. You can actually just divide by 25, and it simplifies to be 13 over 40. Okay, last one, we've got negative 5.003. Give you guys one more chance. Okay, this one's a mixed number, so you can look a little bit at part B for a little bit of help on this one. So go ahead and try it, and I will show you the answer here in 3, 2, 1. You should be getting negative 5 for the whole part and 3 over 1,000 for the fractional part. It doesn't simplify. 3 and 1,000 don't have any factors in common, okay? Next up is comparing. So we're going to insert a less than, greater than, or equal to symbol to form a true statement. So the first thing I notice is I've got fractions and decimals in all of these, and it's a little bit hard to compare apples to oranges, right? So let's make them the same format so that it's easier to see. So how about we our fractions into decimals so that it's easier to look at. So my first fraction is 8 over 100. So if I do 8 divided by 100, that's 0.08. This one has 3 decimal places. If it helps you to add a third decimal place, anything that you don't have is a 0. So this is 0.080. So comparing these, they both have a 0, they both have an 8, but this one has a 3 and that one has a 0. 3 is bigger than 0, so 0.083 is greater than 8 over 100. Remember, with the symbols, the larger side is always facing the larger number. Okay? Next one, I have 0.499 compared to 1/2. So as a decimal would be 0.5. So which one's bigger? 0.5 is bigger, so that means that 0.499 is less than 0.5. Last one is 0.428, and we're comparing it to 107 over 250. So if you do 107 divided by 250, you're actually going to get 0.428, and so these are the same, which means they are equal. Alright, some more comparing. We're going to write all of these numbers in order from smallest to largest. So smallest number first, then the medium number or middle number, and largest number last. And again, I notice I have some decimals and some fractions, so I'm going to convert my fractions to decimals so that I can compare them a little easier. In example A, I've got 0.331, I've got a third and 0.33. So 1/3 as a decimal is 0.3 repeating. So this is going to have all kinds of 3s. It's going to go like that, and it's going to keep on going. So looking at them from smallest to largest, how about we look at the first 3 decimal places since this one has 3. So this one has 0.333, and it keeps going. This one has 0.330. So they all start with 2 3s. So there's a decimal place, a 3, and then another 3. But 0 is going to come first, then 1, and then 3. So that's how I'm going to order it. So the smallest one would be 0.33. Next up would be 0.331. And the largest one is the 0.3 repeating, which was my 1/3. Next up, I have 2.15, 2.142, and 15/7. Alright, so 15 divided by 7 is going to 2.1428571. It kind of keeps going. But that's more than enough digits to find where it goes. So the smallest one, let's see, they all have a 2. They all have a 1. And then these two have a 4, and that one has a 5. So I know 5 is definitely bigger. So now we're comparing these 4s. The next digit over here is a 2, and then this one is done. So that means that it has a 0 next, and this one has an 8. So the 2.142 is going to be the smallest. The 2.1428571, it keeps on going, which is my 15/7, was the next one. And the biggest number was 2.15, since it had a 5 in that hundredths place. Alright, last one is negative. And negative numbers are kind of strange because when you're ordering from smallest to largest, the smallest negative number actually has the biggest value. It's the most to the left on the number line. And so it's going to feel like you're going big to small instead of small to big because they're negatives. Okay? So negative 1.8. Then we have negative 1 and 7/10. That would be negative 1, then a decimal place. 7 divided by 10 is 0.7. So that's negative 1.7. Then I've got negative 1 and 5/6. So that would be negative 1, then a decimal place. If I do 5 divided by 6, I get 0.83, and then that 3 keeps on going, not the 8, but it'll be 0.83333333, okay? So my smallest negative number is actually going to have the largest magnitude. So the biggest one is negative 1.87. That'll be the smallest number. Feels backwards with negatives. My middle number is definitely the negative 1.83. So that's negative 1 and 5/6. And my largest negative number is the negative 1.7, which is negative 1 and 7/10. Alright, that was fun. Alright, last one, example 5. Says, which of the following numbers are between 1.996 and 2.03? So we want the numbers that are bigger than 1.996 and less than 2.03. So let's just go one at a time. First one is 1.97. So is it bigger than 1.996? It has a 1, a 9, but then it has a 7. 7 is less than 9. So this one's actually smaller than that bottom end of our range. So not that one. Alright, how about 1.997? So now I've got the 1, 9, 9, and it has a 7, which is bigger than 6, so it is definitely larger than 1.996. And it is less than 2, so it's less than 2.03. So this one is in our range. Next one, I have 1.908. So it has a 1, has a 9, it has a 0, which is less than 9, so it is less than our bottom end of our range. It is not going to be between those two values. Next is 2.1. 2.1 is definitely bigger than 1.996 because my first number 2 is bigger than 1. So then I'm wondering, is it less than 2.03? So it has a 2, but it has a 1 in the tens place, which is bigger than 0. So it is out of our range. It's too big. How about 2.01? Is that in the range? It's bigger than 1.996. Is it smaller than 2.03? Let's see. It has a 2, has a 0. 1 is less than 3, so yes, it is less than 2.03. It's in our range that we're looking for. And last one, 2.001, is bigger than 1.996 because it's a 2 something. Is it less than 2.03? Let's see, there's a 2, decimal place 0, and I have a 0, and that's a 3. It's less than that, so it's another one that's in our range. Okay, so hopefully this helps you guys with this section. Hope you guys have a great week.